Namaste. I, Simran Kaushal, welcome everyone on the brand new episode of Science Bits only on Bharata First. This season is all about science, which is simplified in a short, crisp, and a unique manner by the experts. This platform provides a unique opportunity to explore your scientific temper and skills. Science Bits involves explanation of the topics ranging from the recent trends and developments in the field of science and technology to the discussion of the previous year questions and potential concepts which are important from the perspective of competitive exams. Let your curiosity out and ask questions through a form whose link has been provided in the description box below. Do make use of this opportunity. Now, I would like to introduce to a science expert, Dr. T.V. Venkateshwaran, who is here with us to answer the questions. Dr. T.V. Venkateshwaran is a senior scientist at Vigyan Prasar, New Delhi. He is also founder of India Science Wire. So, the first question for today is,
How does cryogenic engine works? What is the science and technology behind it? How is the future of cryogenic engine and its position in India?
First, cryogenic means freezing cold. That's the meaning of it. So that means that basically the propellants used in this rocket engines are super cool. Cryogenic propellants have a greater efficiency in terms of the thrust that they generate. And usually you measure this efficiency by specific impulse. Okay, that's how we measure it. And specific impulse is actually thrust generated per unit mass of the propellant consumed per unit of time. Okay, or alternatively, you can also think of it as the rate of mass ejected from the rocket nozzle. Remember, this is Newton's third law. So the amount of mass ejected rate, that is per unit time, will tell you that what is the kind of thrust that it can develop for that particular system. Okay, and it's measured in seconds. Okay. So when you are looking at a cryogenic engine, the high specific impulse, they are obtained because of the exhaust gas temperature. The temperature is very high, although the fuel is low temperature. That exhaust gas temperature is high, and the volume or molecular weight of the combust products. Okay, basically you are using basically hydrogen, carbon, or oxygen as your fuel. So the exhaust gas also will be a mixture of that. So which means that it will have lower molecular weight. Okay. And third, the density of the propellant is an important factor when we are looking at rocket fuel. So if the density is very high, it means that the area occupied by your fuel will be small. So you will need a smaller tank, lighter tank. Okay, so basically low in comparison to the low density, a high density will be a advantage when you're talking about a rocket propellant. So now if I compare the four kinds of propellants that are usually used, solid propellants, they have something like about 260 seconds impulse, specific impulse. When you look at a liquid, something like hydroxide or tetroxide and things of that kind, you have 340 specific impulse. If you go to semi-cryogenic, meaning that you are using liquid oxygen, which is cryogenic, but then you are using ordinary kerosene. That's why it's called semi-cryogenic. They have a specific impulse in the range of 350 to 360. But when you are using purely cryogenic, totally cryogenic, something like liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen, then you have something like about 450 specific impulse. Okay. And then the combustion from this LOX and LHS water. So which means you are also not polluting. Generally, other propellants might be polluting the environment. Okay, and it also has lower molecular weight. So it gives a better performance. So if you look at, for example, the Vikas liquid engine, ISRO, for producing 1 ton of thrust, it has to burn about 3.4 kilogram of propellant per second. But then a cryogenic engine will achieve this with just 2 kilogram of propellant per second. Okay, so which means that the payload capacity of your launch vehicle increases. So the gap between 2 and 3.4, you can put it in payload rather than in your fuel. Okay, So if the fuel weight comes down, the payload weight can go up. That's the idea, right? So if you look at cryogenic engine, like the Indian cryogenic engine, CE20, CE is essentially cryogenic. If you look at that, it uses hydrogen, which is kept at minus 253 degrees centigrade, and liquid oxygen at minus 183 degrees centigrade. And these two are mixed in the combustion chamber, where they react and produce water vapor. Okay, that becomes the exhaust gas, right? But then you have to push this liquid into the combustion chamber in a specific rate. I mean, you should mix the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen in correct proportions. I mean, if the proportions are not correct, then some of the liquid hydrogen or some of the liquid oxygen will be wasted. They won't react. So to control their movement, you have helium gas. Okay, you have a helium gas. That helium gas actually goes into these two tanks and then pushes the liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen in the right rate. And this is a photograph of that engine that is a cryogenic engine, which has been developed by India indigenously. If you look at the Indian cryogenic engine development, we started earnestly around 1982. Okay, so there was a first team that was set up to produce it. There were early experiments, and then there was an agreement with Russia to supply some cryogenic engine. But because of the pressure put by United States, the Russia had to back out. Around 1990s, there was a breakup of Soviet Union. So earlier Soviet Union had agreed to give India the technology and engines. So they had to back up, but then they gave few engines. Using that engine, the India developed its own cryogenic program. So early form of the cryogenic engine was developed around 2000, which was a failure, which was essentially using the Soviet technology. Then some more tinkering was done, and then we got a new design called CE 7.5, which was successfully tested. And then the first flight took place in 2010, and the first successful flight took place in 2014. If you compare to other countries, US had this cryogenic technology from 63, Japan from 77, France from 79, China from 84, Russia from 87, and India is the newly joined country in this exclusive club. If you look at France or Japan, they are using this cryogenic technology in their launch vehicles also. Today, the ISRO is thinking of expanding its cryogenic program. So it is going to expand in the semi-cryogenic area also. And then it is looking at producing a 200 kiloton semi-cryogenic engine, which will be used in the core of the launch vehicles, that next generation launch vehicle that ISRO is building. And then it is also trying to build a 600 kilonewton. The current one is CE25, so which means that it is producing about 250 Newton. So this will be 600 Newton, so which means that even heavier payloads we will be able to take up. So this new engine is also under development. And of course, as a futuristic nuclear engine is also being developed, which exactly is not cryogenic, but it's also an advanced engine for interplanetary missions, because nuclear powered engines will work well in interplanetary space rather than in the atmosphere well. So that's the ISRO's plan.